Sleep with my girlfriend and lie about it all? Guess it's gonna be eye for an eye. My brother has been my parents' golden child since the day he was born. He was just a year and a half younger and was a miracle baby, being born despite being given a 5% chance of survival. He was also a planned pregnancy unlike me, who was an accident. Growing up I hated the favoritism my parents showed, and what's worse is they refused to admit it. He literally got a car for his 13th birthday and dad started teaching him how to drive it. He would steal my things too, and never got reprimanded for his actions. I remember on one specific occasion I spent a few weeks throughout the summer mowing lawns for people for some money, and I had a few $100 saved up within a month. Well, my brother found that money and spent the majority of it at a mall, buying clothes for himself. I was furious at the time, and we got into a fist fight, which I won, and he went and complained to our parents. I didn't even get a chance to say my piece before I was grounded for the rest of summer. What's worse is that even after I told my parents what my brother did, they never believed me, claiming I must have lost the money, and Mom swore up and down that she gave my brother the money to go to the mall. She literally covered for him. Needless to say, my family and I were never very close. I am 19 years old and my brother is 18. I moved out as soon as I turned 18, whereas my brother still lives rent and bill free at our parents and does not have a job. Currently, I have little relations with any of them, and very soon I will go nuclear on them. You see, I used to have low contact with them and was not opposed to potentially having a relationship in the future, but an incident which happened a few months ago severed all the ties I used to have with them. So, my ex-girlfriend Jane and I had been dating since just before I turned 18. She was my first love and I fell very hard for her. We met at a gym. And hit it off there. Over time, my love for her grew to be very strong. We went on ice cream dates, carnivals, and even talked about our future together as I was also her first love. She knew all about my home life and how my family treated me, which made what she did hurt that much more. You see, Jane was one of the only aspects of my life which my family could not control, and they hated this. Now that I look back at it, my parents and brother had a strong liking to control what I did and who I hung out with too. Well, they never liked Jane. And the reason this was the case was that Jane taught me a lot about how to stand up and fend for myself. It was due to her that I found myself saying no to my parents, not giving in to their demands or my brothers. They loathed her for this reason. They never met her, of course. I never wanted to introduce Jane to them, and it seemed like they had no interest in meeting her either. My brother, however, he seemed very interested in Jane. He had seen pictures of her on my phone or social media, and would routinely make jokes to me about plowing her till kingdom come, and calling her a WHRE, anything to get underneath my skin about her. We got into a heated fight when he told me he'd pulled that blonde hair of hers till it came off and she looked like a cancer patient so he could nut on her shiny head. We got into a brawl over this disgusting statement of his, and our parents came to break us up and took his side, of course. I turned 18 and moved out shortly after. Jane and I dated happily as I had very low contact with my parents. I should have seen something coming though. There was no way my parents and my brother were going to allow me to live a normal life without theory interference. Roughly 8 months after moving out, and 11 months into our relationship, I walked into Jane's apartment to surprise her, and I saw her and my brother getting it on. When I saw what was going on I froze. My entire world had shattered. The woman I had loved and trusted went behind my back to sleep with the person that had been making my life hell all along. I kicked my brother out there and then, but he of course refused, and only left when threatened with police. I stayed behind with my girlfriend, not to forgive her, but to ask her why. She cried a lot and begged me to forgive her a lot, but I told her I'm not here for that. I just wanted an explanation as to how she could do this to me. She revealed that my brother had been messaging her for a while, and at first she turned him down and never told me as she figured it was not a big deal. But over time he kept trying his luck, and when that did not work, he resorted to telling her he will spread nasty rumors about her unless she gives in and routinely has intimacy with him. Being scared and afraid of him, she agreed and the affair started. She promised that she has no emotional attachment to the affair at all. She was worried for her safety and her reputation. She showed me their conversations confirming she was telling the truth. She cried in my arms and begged for forgiveness. I told her that I understand her. I'm terribly sorry that my brother is the biggest piece of crap ever, but I cannot forgive her. She could have taken screenshots, talked to me, done anything but engage. But she chose to let him have his way. I told her I was sorry and we were done. I of course confronted my parents first about my brother's actions, and to no surprise they claimed I was lying. My brother stated he never slept with my girlfriend, and my parents believed him. When this happened, I set my mind on revenge. I texted Jane, asking if she could send me the screenshots of their conversation, because I want to destroy my brother. He is an a-hole who does not deserve anything, and he deserves to face the consequences of his actions. I got the screenshots. For the last few months I have been keeping tabs of my brother's life. The perfect opportunity for revenge has arisen. He has found a girlfriend. I do not know how he did it. But all I'd need to do is text his new girlfriend the screenshots between Jane and my brother. Hi-OS relationship will be ruined, and I can choose to take it one step further and post what he did publicly. I have no doubt it would garner the attention of police too. I haven't looked much into that aspect of it, but my intuition tells me that pressuring a girl for intimacy by threatening to spread rumors about her might cause some legal issues. Even if that is not the case, his social status will be ruined. I think I'm going to do it, I just don't know when. My lunatic parents have recently joined a cult and intend to move me to a religious compound. I really don't want to go, but they're being really persistent. My mom and stepdad are really into New Age science and beliefs. I've never agreed with them on this and didn't know how extreme it was. Recently though they have become involved in an extremely weird support group. I have no effing clue who they are. When I'm around they never mention any group names or what organization they work for or are a part of. Because of this I have not had much luck finding out stuff as New Age cult gives too many results to look into. This Monday my mom and stepdad sat me and my 4 siblings down. They told us that we will be moving at the end of the month to a more stable location within a spiritual community. According to them they plan to pull all 5 of us out of school here and enroll us in their mind awakening school wherever we move. I tried to get anything out of them but they refused to talk to me at all about it. According to them, because I'm still a child in mind, body, and spirit I need to listen to them, not ask questions. I've actually been freaking out since then and have been trying to get advice but I've been unable to. They cut off the internet, phone and TV Tuesday and they have been keeping a laser focus on me and my siblings since then. I'm currently at a friend's house and this is the only way I've actually got access to the internet. This seems like a cult 100% to me. Last night they had 3 people come and talk to me and my siblings and the stuff they told us was crazy. I was talked to alone by an old man who told me about how my mind is closed and that I will slowly learn to open it as my parents have and that the leaders will love to meet me and put me in their programs. I need to know what I can do here. My dad has shared custody of me and since Monday I've had no contact with him. He is supposed to have a call with me every night but my mom claims he's been informed and supports this 100%. I tried calling him this morning but he didn't answer. He lives in another state so it's kinda hard to get into contact with him outside of phone and email. I'm at a friend's house because I was able to leave the house for the first time in a week this morning after I told my parents I wanted to go to the park but came here and told my friend everything. Her parents are not home but she's trying to call them and I plan to stay here tonight if I can. My parents have forbidden me from using the internet because it's full of lies from them. Update 1. I talked to my mom and told her because I would be moving soon and this might be one of the last times I could see my friend, so I would like to stay the night and she said it was okay and that this family was trustworthy not to try and corrupt my view. I got into contact with my dad and he's mad. He did not agree and was told I didn't want to talk to him. My 15-year-old sister's dad was told the same despite the fact he has primary custody and she only spends the summers with us. My sister's dad is going to call CPS too and I just got done with my call to them. I will be spending the night here and when my mom asks me to come back tomorrow my dad has told me not to go back and tell her that he will be flying down here to Florida immediately if I don't check in with him or he hears I went back to her. He says that he is already looking into emergency custody. I also will be going and buying a burner phone tomorrow and withdrawing all my money from the bank. My dad says he will handle getting my stuff from my mom when the time comes. Update 2. So after I stayed the night with my friend's family, my mom and stepdad tried to get me to come back home immediately. My dad said not to go, so I somehow convinced my mom to let me stay the rest of today and I would come home that night. This plan didn't work out very well though as my sister's dad called the police to report that he couldn't contact my sister and was afraid she was kidnapped. It didn't take long before my mom caught on that I was the one who leaked to him their plans and they freaked out. My mom then came to my friend's house and tried to force her way in to take me because I had been corrupted and needed to be locked away from bad influences till we left for the compound. My friend's parents called the police and I called my dad and he got to talk to my mom. This was a nightmare situation that almost ended with my mom being charged with trespassing. My mom and dad argued on the phone for over 3 hours outside of my friend's house. In the end my dad made it so I would not have to go with them but the only safe place my mom would agree to me staying is with my uncle 4 hours away. I stayed with him for over a week and it was the worst week of my life. My mom called me constantly to try to talk to me and save me from the evil energies my father had possessed me with. My stepfather also began to send me various threats and told me that at the end of the month I was coming no matter what. After a week of this, everything changed. My mom stopped calling me, my stepdad stopped texting and they went quiet for 4 days. Me, my uncle, my dad, all of them couldn't reach them. My sister's dad also stopped being able to reach them. During this time my mom bought my sister a plane ticket home and my sister's dad only learned of this when he got a call after my parents dropped my sister off at the airport. After this my mom called me one last time. She proceeded to tell me that she had been meditating, praying to my guardian spirits daily, and talking to the leaders. All to help me open my third eye to see the truth and understand I was being used by evil. During these sessions apparently she finally realized the truth and saw me for the evil spawn I was. According to her I am an evil seed and that I not only was brought here to bring evil spirits onto her and her good children. I also infected the womb and corrupted my sister. She told me to send my uncle down and pick up all of my worldly possessions that were infected and to not come with him or ever contact her or her family again. She ended by telling me that I was never her child and that she hopes the universe deals with me. The last contact I know about was her telling my dad she wants to revoke her parental rights. At the end of last month they moved to the compound with my 3 step-siblings. I moved out to live with my dad and have been in therapy since then. My smoking addiction and terrible Photoshop skills ruined my dying dad's dream cruise, and I never felt worse in my life. At the time, I was living in California and using grass to combat anxiety, ADHD and insomnia. One day my mom called me, telling me that my father was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. He was given 6 months to a year to live. I am close with my parents and it was pretty devastating news. I took a leave to drive to Florida, where they had retired, to spend some time with them. I drove because I needed my medication and was really nervous about flying with it. My folks also don't approve of grass, so having my car would give me a place to smoke privately. 3 days of driving later, I arrived, aunt and uncle were at the house. They announced they were paying for a Caribbean cruise for the whole family. The cruise was for 10 days and left in 5 days. I panicked. I began to desperately think of an excuse not to go because the thought of dealing with 10 days of no grass terrified me. The problem was that I had to head back home 2 days after the cruise, so my time with dad would be short. I could not come back out until summer, and wouldn't forgive myself if that was too late. That's when I made a plan. This is where I effed up. I read online that I needed a doctor's note for medications that were controlled substances and to declare them on arrival. I deduced that since I am from a state with legal medical grass, I could bring medicine on board. I am pretty creative with Photoshop, and I had some scans of medical documents, tests and receipts from my doctor. The issue, and my downfall, these were records for my dad, from when they moved out east. We shared the same doctor in Cali, we also shared the same first and last name, and middle initial, so I didn't need to change. So I had altered a treatment plan and a prescription for my dad's gout, to a medical grass document for me. So I thought. The day of the cruise, I convinced my cousins to come an hour early with me to the port so I would not be boarding with my folks. I told them I had a prescription and some medication I didn't want to concern my folks with at this time. They pried. I told them it was for grass. They gave me high fives. At security I proudly produced my documents and my professionally packaged grass. To my surprise, they took both, bagged it and said it would go to the ship's doctor who would contact me. An hour later, everyone had boarded and the whole crew of us were gathered on deck. All enjoying a drink and some snacks from the buffet while we waited for our rooms and luggage. The doctor and my medication were on my mind. Sure enough, my name is announced to report to medical. Everyone, including my dad, assumed it was for him, same name, and he got up to go to medical. All I could think was to tell my mom to relax and I went with dad. I hoped the receptionist would clarify it was for me and I would have a private convo with the doctor and get my medicine. I was wrong, very wrong. The nurse asked for my dad's ID. I identified myself as the son with the same name, but she just asked my dad if he wanted me to go into the office with him to speak to the doctor. Dad said yes. My stomach was in my throat. We waited in the exam room for a couple minutes and the doctor came in and sat down. He looked right at my dad and said, "You're dealing with some very serious medical issues. I just spoke with your doctor and I am afraid that we are not equipped to deal with possible issues or complications on this ship." He continued that he would have to disembark within an hour and could not go on the cruise. He did go on to explain that he had called the California doctor as he felt something was not right with the documents I had made. The receptionist asked for the patient number, which I neglected to change, and informed him that all the records had been forwarded to my dad's new doctor in Florida. The ship's doctor then called my dad's current doctor who said my dad was really sick and had not returned urgent calls regarding his test results. I had never seen my dad so deflated. Doc produced my bag of medication and told me that if I was getting off the ship with my dad, I could pick it up at security when I left. I truly wished it was me who was dying at that moment. All I could say was, "Sorry, this is my fault." And we walked in silence. We went back up and joined the group. Dad took Mom aside for a quick conversation, then they announced they were getting off the ship and wanted everyone else to enjoy the cruise. Everyone initially wanted to leave with them, but after some tears and hugs it was decided that everyone would continue on. I opted to leave with my parents. I spent the next 2 weeks at their home. It was some of the best bonding and healing family time in my life. The story about the grass came out to all shock and awe in our religious clan. My folks actually told me I was free to smoke on the deck. They came to find it humorous. My uncle was furious. He came over after the cruise and found me and Dad in the backyard. I had just lit a J, and Uncle started in on Dad about family and respect. Dad took the J from my hand, took a small puff, looks at my uncle and says, "My doctor said it might help my appetite." My uncle left, but he is not a bad guy and he did call and apologize the next day. We enjoyed a few more J's over the next days. I ended up sending a dad a few care packages from Cali, and was able to spend 3 weeks with him in the summer. My dad made it to the following Christmas.